upside down. B major. Video game lover, we should with each other. I said, video game lover, we should with each other. Don't act like we don't feel the same.
Hey, what's up guys? So today I'm going to clone another game and I'm going to show you how to build Pac-Man, and I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch using Flutter. And also, just before I get started, I've added timestamps to the videos so you can click on those to kind of skip ahead to different parts of the tutorial. And also the link to this code I'll put it down in the description as well. Okay, so I've just opened up a brand new Flutter app and I'm just going to delete everything that's already in here and just start from scratch. So let's create a stateless widget and make it my app. And we're going to make a material app. And the first thing that I always like to do is I always just get rid of this, which is this debug banner. And for the home, let's call it home page. Let's copy this guy, and I'm going to build the next class in another file. Okay, and we'll call it homepage.dart. So let's import the dart material.dart, and in this let's make a stateful widget and call it homepage, and change this container to a scaffold. Okay, so that's just the default. So let's come back to the main and import this homepage. Okay, so we should just have a blank app with nothing on it. So yep, there we go. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is let's change the, say, background color to just black or gray maybe. And in the body, let's have a column. And let's just put two expanded widgets. So container, let's just give it a color, so red. Okay, so this should just split it in half. And what I want to do is I want to make this flex a little bigger. I want to say, I think, let's say like 5. Cool, yeah, so we just want the majority of the screen to be a grid view, which we're going to put in, and we'll just put some text down here to make it look nice. Okay, so let's get rid of these colors, and in this container, whoops, let's put a grid view builder. Okay, and we're going to type sliver grid. So we're going to use this one here, sliver grid delegate with fixed cross-axis count, I think. Holy. Okay, so format the document, cross-axis count. Okay, so in here we want to say how many do you want in the row. So I'm just going to call it a variable so we can control it later on if we need to. So number in row, and that's what this means, how many numbers you want in that row. So let's come up here and let's build an integer called number in row, and let's set it to be 11 in each row for now. Also up here in item count, let's call it number of squares and make another variable up here. Okay, so you want to be making variables instead of hard coding numbers like this in, so that later we can just tweak the numbers if we need to. So let's start with say number in row, so however many we want in each row, multiplied by let's say, I don't know, 16 for now, and change this to static. Okay, and in the item builder we want to say build context and index. So if you if you haven't checked out my last few videos, I've just been using this grid view builder to pretty much build all of the 2D games. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of fly through this a bit quicker. In here, let's return a container. And just to see what's in that container, let's just give it a color of gray and give this a padding of 1. Alright, let's see what we got. Okay, so yep, here's our little grid. And we don't want it to scroll, so let's come over here and say physics. Never scrollable physics. I think that's the one. Yeah, okay, so it's not scrolling anymore. And okay, so I'm gonna call, let's get rid of this one. I'm just gonna say in the expander, let's give it a row, children. And for now, let's just put 2 text widgets. I'm gonna say score and oh whoops, child. And play. Let's go to the main axis alignment, so we can use this to center it. Well, maybe space evenly is probably more appropriate here. And let's change these so that we can see them. So change the style. And also the size. So like 40. Okay, so that's good enough for there. Okay, so now that we've got the basic UI, I'm going to show you the indexes again. So child, and in the text widget, I want to say, whoops, I want to say index.toString. I want to show you guys the index, which is just the numbers that each box represents, right? So starting from 0 on the top corner, we're going to go down to this many, which is the number of squares that we have. I'm actually going to change this to 17 because I want an odd number of rows. Okay, alrighty, so now I'm going to build basically the map, okay, just using these indexes. And just to make it look nicer, let's just center these numbers as well. So the first thing to do is I'm just going to come over here and build a list of integers and call it barriers. Okay, and in here I'm going to list all the integers, say like this, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. Okay, so I just went through and just listed out the outsides. Okay, so what I want to do here now is, instead of just returning this, let's put an if statement and say if barriers contains the index that you're looking at, then return a blue square, and otherwise just return what we had before. So let's see what we have so far. Yep, so that's the list of numbers that I just typed in now. So with the map, with these sorts of games, because like the map is like a custom made thing, it might take a little bit of like elbow grease, but you just need to go through and fill in the numbers and create the map that you desire, right? So whatever that looks like. In this one, I'm going to create something that sort of resembles Pac-Man, or I guess as much as I can. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly do that again. Okay, so I just went through and built the map that I wanted. Okay, again, if you guys want to just check out this code, I'll put it in the description box below. Okay, but let's see what this map looks like that I made. After we make this map, let's make it a bit prettier, and then we'll bring in the Pac-Man and start controlling him around. And towards the end, we'll add a little ghost as well. Okay, so yeah, I'm just building the app again. Just while we're doing that, let's come over here and I want to build a new file. Let's clean up this code a bit. The first thing I'm going to say is the pixel.dart. And in here, I just want to represent each square in a different file. So like this one, so the padding, let's just copy all this. Material, you can see my little app, the little map that I just drew up, which we'll get to. So, oops, stateless widget, I'm just going to call this my pixel, and instead of returning a container, let's return that guy. Also, let's pass through a couple of things to create this pixel. And again, pixel, I just mean the squares here. So let's say final color, final child. And child. Okay, and build the constructors. So this dot color, this dot child, which are just basically these two properties which we can pass through. And so instead of just fixing it to be blue, we can just pass through the color, whichever color that we choose in our home page. So over here we can say my pixel, which we should import the file that we just made. And so in here now we have these two options that we created, right? So colors dot blue, and the child was just that index, right? So index.toString. I'm just going to put this back in. And same thing here. Oh, I should say return. Okay, so yeah, that's going to clean up our code a little bit. For this, let's say black. And also, just while we're here, let's just change these colors to black. Okay, so yeah, so you can see that this is the map that I just kind of drew up. So we're slowly getting there. It's going to change the look on these guys just a bit. Let's make some rounded squares. That always makes it better. Okay, so rounded squares, and also let's change up these colors a bit. So I'm going to say inner color, final outer color, and so change these around. So I'm just going to make this map look a little bit more prettier with the user interface before we just make the logic. This dot outer color. Okay, so in this container, this can be the outer color, and just take this guy, give this This is one of my favorite widgets here, the clip round rectangle, which just makes these squares round. So you're gonna have to specify a radius. You can choose this option that says circular. Yeah, border radius dot circular. Let's set it to be 10 for now. So a container with an outer color and just with a bit of padding, edge insets, or say like 4. You're gonna make another one. So okay, so let's just copy this. Copy the clip rect and put him in this child. And change the outer color to the inner color. Okay, so let's come back to our home page and let's see what that looks like, what we just made. So instead of having one color, I changed it to 2 colors. So inner color and an outer color. So I want to make that blue 900 and say this one blue 800. Inner color, outer color, colors dot yellow. Whoops, let's change this now. Okay. Okay, so we have a slightly different look. I'm going to change the roundness just a tad. Let's change this to be 6. Yeah, I like that one. And also, I'm going to need to make another file for the path because I want the yellow dots to be a bit smaller. So I'm going to just copy the pixel and then paste it in the path and just say my path. And path, what I mean by path is just the path that the Pac-Man can go through. Okay, so everything should be the same, but I just call it my path. The main thing that I want to change in here though is the edge insets. So yeah. Well, actually, this one doesn't even need it. Edge insets here. So just make this to be 10. See what that does. Oh, whoops! I didn't add him here. My path. Import him. Okay, good. So we don't need these numbers anymore. So this can be the little food that our Pac-Man is going to go through and eat. Okay. I think some of these paddings I don't need, like that one. In the path, maybe we can make this like 12. Alrighty, good. So our map is looking a little bit better now. I think it's time to build our Pac-Man character that we can move around. So I'm going to bring in the Pac-Man now. So over here I've got I've got 2 pictures. So one for the Pac-Man, one for the ghost. So I'm going to make an images folder. Chuck them in there and chuck them in there. And we want to put the images in the library folder. And go to our pubspec.yaml and you'll see the assets. And we want to import in the library, we just called it images. Okay, so so how should we do this? Again, let's come over here, make another file, and let's call this the player.dart. Okay, so let's make a stateless widget, and I'm going to call this just my player, which is just going to be the image that we are going to import. Okay, so it was in the file name library images, and I called it, what did I call it? Pacman.png. Okay, so I'm going to save that, come to the home page, and whoops, build a player position. I'm just going to call it player. And let's make him start like there. Okay, which is just number in rows times 16 plus 1. So yeah, just a little bit of math just gets us there. Which means when we build our grid, we can now say another if statement. So the first thing, so I want to say player, if player equals to the index, then we're going to return, what did we just call it? Player, my player, right? Yeah, so let's just import this file that we created. And I don't think we need anything for this. Yep. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Hopefully we have a Pac-Man that appears there. Oh, whoops. Okay, not quite right. So the position changes to 15. Okay. Let's give this guy a bit of padding too. Okay, sweet, sweet. Now what I want to do is when I hit play, let's get the Pac-Man to just start rolling. So come over here, in the text where we said play, let's wrap it with a widget, a gesture detector. And on the tap method, let's call it start game. Okay, so we haven't created this method yet, so let's come over here and create it here. So void start game, and when I hit it, I want a timer to go off. So timer, which we need to import as well, this one here, and there's a periodic one. So duration, let's say every 150 milliseconds. Let's get him to do something. So first of all, I just want him to move right. Okay, we're gonna have to deal with 4 different directions. Okay, so firstly, just to show you that this is gonna work, I'm gonna say set state and player plus plus, and you'll see what occurs when I do that. So plus plus just means you're adding 1 to this integer, which is player. Okay, so if I hit play, yeah, it's just gonna go right. And because that's all I'm doing, I'm just adding 1 to the number, it's just gonna go to the next row, ignoring all of my barriers. So here we can kind of fix up these bugs, right? So we'll say if you're ever gonna hit a barrier, then don't move. Okay, so for example, something like this, make an if statement and say if barriers dot contains player plus plus barriers, and this is not true, then go right. So what this means is barriers, they're the blue squares, right? Where they're basically the walls. And I'm saying in that list of numbers, like this long list of barriers, if any of those numbers is the player's position when you add 1, then this is going to return false. Oh, there's actually a mistake. I should change this to +1. So what this does, if I just show you first, I'm just trying to make it so that it hits the wall and doesn't go through the wall. Yeah, so I'm just checking the position, the next position through, like player +1, and if that's a barrier, then I'm not going to move it all. And if that's not the case, which is the exclamation mark, then we're free to move forward. Okay, so that means we're going to need to have some different gestures, right? So I'm gonna use like swiping gestures. So if I swipe left, then we're going left. If I swipe up, we're going up, which means we're going to need to make this whole thing a gesture detector. Okay, so if I come to my, this container, which has the grid view builder, let's wrap it with a gesture detector. And not the on tap one. We're going to use the on vertical drag update. Details if details dot delta dy is greater than 0, then do something else if details dot delta dot dy is less than 0. Do something else. Okay, so I'm actually gonna come over here and create a string, and I'm gonna call it direction. And for the initial direction, I'm just gonna give it as right. Okay, so our character is just starting down here, and we're just initially gonna go right. And this direction is something that I want to change every time I swipe on the screen. So if details.delta.dy is greater than 0, I think we can say direction equals up. And this we want to be down. So I actually just want to check this. So if you want to check if what you're doing is actually correct, you can actually print out to the console. So I can say something like print over here. Whoops. Print direction. Okay, so this is going to execute if anytime I drag on it, right? So let's see if this actually works. So it should just work right off the bat. Yeah, there we go. So right, and oh yeah, that's just the direction. If I press down, up. Okay, so if I swipe down, it says up. Where if I swipe up, it says down, which means I got these wrong. So let's change this to down and change this to up. Okay, but looks like the console is actually reading our detections, our gesture detector. So this was for the vertical one. So we can do the same thing for the horizontal one. So let's just format this document. On horizontal drag update, details, and I'm just going to copy this without the print. And this should be DXs now. Actually, let's just check this as well. So print direction. Yeah, good thing we checked because I actually got that wrong again. So this is right and this is left. Okay, so now we are able to control the direction of the Pac-Man. So once it hits this wall, we should be able to get out of that position, right? So once we are starting the game and this timer has started, every 150 milliseconds we are checking this condition, right? So I'm going to use a quick switch statement. So basically what that is switch, it's this one. So basically what you can do is you can check the direction, and in the case where the direction is left, you can like do something, and there's also a default case. We actually have 4 cases though, so I'm gonna copy this and just add 4 of them. and change this to right, up, and down. Okay, so if we check the direction and the direction says left, then what we're going to do is we're going to create some new methods. So I'm going to call this move left, which we haven't made yet, but we'll just write it in for now. So move right, move up, and move down. Okay, so let's clean up this code a bit. Let's come down here and create these methods. So move left, and change these as well. Okay, so we actually already made the method for moving right. So let's get rid of this and put him in the move right. And in the move left, we're gonna go subtracting one, right? So remember how the numbers went like from left to right? So if I subtract one, we're gonna go left. And if we can do that, then we're gonna subtract one. For the moving up and down, we're not gonna just check +1, -1. We need to check by adding the number of squares in each of the rows, right? So if I add the number of squares in each row, it will take me to the next one down. Okay, and so this is where it's useful that we actually had it as a variable here. So we said number in row. So we can just use this now, whatever that number is. We can say plus, so player plus, or actually player minus number in row, because if I subtract numbers, it's going to go up. Then we can change this to number in row. Let's copy this and move down. Moving down is plus. Whoops, I should say minus equals and plus equals. Okay. I think that's good. I think that's good to start moving our Pac-Man around. Okay, let's try. So play, and there we go. Okay, so we still have a lot of things to fix. So the first thing I can think of is we want this guy to face the direction he's going. Yeah, to make it a bit more realistic. So since we know the direction now, since we're holding in this string, let's come to the part where we build the Pac-Man. Yeah, my player. Okay, so I'm gonna check something. So instead of just returning the player, let's make another switch statement. And for the direction again, so direction, we're going to check if it's, again, left, left, right, up, down. Okay, so if it's right, then we don't need to do anything, right? So if it's right, then just face the direction that you're normally facing. Oh shit, what was it called? Player, my player, right? My player. If it's on the left, then we can do something called transform. So transform.rotate is what we want to use. And I think we're going to need to import something again here. Hold on, so pi, yeah, this part, import library dot. Whoops, I put that in the wrong one. So we're going to rotate pi, which is 180 degrees, just the reverse direction. Child and my player. Okay, so I just want to show you how that works. If I go left and right, this guy should change. Yep, so it's going right, and if I change, it's not moving. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I was meant to return this. Yeah, just pi. I was meant to return these guys. Okay, so I'm just rebuilding the app again. So let's just fill this out while we're here. So if you're moving left, right, and also up should be pi on 2, down 3 pi, whoops, 3 times pi divided by 2. Alright, let's see if this works. Okay, we can just see how these behave and try to just tweak it accordingly. And lastly, since it's just making a decision in there, we can get rid of this return. Yeah, I think that should be good. Alright, let's check it out. So now that we're just making a decision in that switch block, let's just copy this return player and just put that as the default case. And if we save this, hopefully this works. Okay, so looks like it's going the opposite direction, and left and right is working fine. So here, let's change this to 3 pi on 2, and just change this to pi on 2. So if I play, and you're going up. Okay, cool. So now that we've got it facing the direction that you want to go. Okay, getting closer and closer to the game. So now, let's make it so that any path that he goes through, he's eating these yellow ball things. Okay. So to do that, we're going to need another list called food. Alright, so let's come over here. Under this list of barriers, let's create another list of integers and call it food. Okay, and when the game starts, let's say get food. And create that method down here. So get food, we're going to say, we're going to do a quick for loop. And since we already know where all the barriers are, we're just going to choose all the ones that are not the barriers. Okay, so I'm just going to run a quick for loop, starting from 0, and checking through the number of squares. We're going to check if barriers dot contains index. Oh wait, not index, just I. So if this is not the case, so everything that's not in the barrier, let's add it to the food. So food dot add I. Okay, which means once I hit play, it's going to add to that list of foods all these yellow boxes, which is basically all the boxes that are not the barriers. Okay, so that's what this is talking about. And so now that we have the list of integers that contains our food, I'm going to, every 120 milliseconds, so every frame, I'm going to check if food contains the player. That means the player is sitting on a food. So I want to say food dot remove that player. Okay, so if I save this, hopefully it just creates the notion of eating them. Okay, so yep, there we go. Okay, so to show the animation effect of the Pac-Man sort of biting, we're going to use our mouth closed, and basically where we build the grid, we had this whole guy, right? Okay, so in here, let's do else if, and create another condition, and I'm gonna say if mouth, just depending on what mouth closed is, it's a boolean, it's just going to return true or false. We're going to return a padding for and in the child, I'm going to put in just a yellow circle. So in the decoration, you can say box decoration, the color is yellow, and also the last thing is the shape, box shape dot circle. Okay, and the last thing we need to change is actually up here where we change the mouth closed. We want to put this in a set state. And basically what that does is it's just going to keep building the state every time we flip this around. Which is important to us because we want to have this effect. Oh, wait, sorry. We want this. So when it hits the wall, like we just want it to continue look like it's biting it. Okay, so it's just going around like that. Okay, sweet. Now, while we're here, since we can eat the food now, let's put the score in. So that means we're gonna have to just create another integer. So I'm just gonna call it integer score. Starts with 0, and where is it? At the bottom. Score plus to string. And basically every time we remove the food, we want to add to the score, right? So here, so if we find that the food is eaten by the player, let's say score and then add plus plus. Okay, let's see this number go up now. Yeah, so now we can have a little score tally down there. Alrighty, now the last thing I'm going to add is just a little ghost. Okay, that's it for this video. Okay, now with the same idea that we created this Pac-Man, I just created another one for the ghost, okay, which was the picture that I imported in earlier. And it was very similar to the Pac-Man, but I needed to implement just a bit of autonomy so that it can move around. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So as we move around, yeah, it's got the ghost going at a bit of a slower speed than what we have. And basically, yeah, it's just moving itself around. I think the last thing I should do, just before we wrap up, is just the ability to eat the ghost. So over here, we are eating the food. So let's also say if player is equal to ghost, then ghost, let's just set this to be like -1. This is going to put it off the screen. Okay, and that's actually pretty much it for this video. Let me know if you want to add some more things to it, or if you have any questions. But if I just eat this ghost, yeah, so the ghost just disappears. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm just going to leave it at that. Let me know if you have any questions on how to make this, but hopefully that was helpful. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.